Today is the day that we've been waiting for. We're going to be doing some lawn leveling. I have got my good friend Brian. Do you guys remember him from the Raccio installation at his house? And
cheap labor.
Yes.
That's what I am.
It's only going to cost me maybe a bottle of bourbon, but that's okay. Maybe it'll cost me more, who knows. But last night after I did the nitrogen, we had a torrential downpour, but I was smart and I had the whole thing tarped. So the sand actually is really dry, which I'm actually very happy with, because the drier it is, the better it is. And we're gonna work our way through it. It's 7 yards and it just is what it is. So Brian's got a gator that we were gonna use, but because it rained so much, I think it'll just tear up the lawn more than it's worth. So we're just gonna get it done. And Brian worked out this morning. He actually went to the gym, he's a much more of a man than I am, but then again, I've been working out all week, so there's that. All right, let's get to it.
Goal, mission, get all this back there.
Sun's gonna move this way and it's gonna dry it out,
yeah.
And that's when we start leveling.
Okay, but we need a little more up here probably.
Yeah, we need, so right here is this area right here, we need to make sure we got some putting green that I'm making down here. That just needs to just get rid of some of the undulation. I want the undulation because it makes for a better putting green, but I don't want it to be like big dips where the mower can't go over it. Took a little break because it was hot, and that gave the sand some time to actually dry out. So now I'm going to start moving this stuff around and try and get it a little bit more level. It's a brand new rake that I got. I've also got my leveling rake, but this thing is a lot better because it allows for pulling sand around. But the nice thing about when it gets dry, if you can see, it just kind of falls in. There's still some wet spots in there, but for the most part, it does a pretty good job of leveling. But see how much easier it is when the sand is dry. think what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go down and knock down all of those piles that are down here. And then also it'll help me to figure out like how much do I really need or where am I missing sand. That's gonna be my fun project for the rest of this afternoon. And then I can actually do some more leveling hopefully later on when it gets a little bit cooler and darker and the sun's not quite beating down on me and just torturing me to death. So all right, I've knocked down all of the little hills that we had put out this morning with Brian, and now I am going to start pulling the sand level, but see how much sand we pull through and how much more we're gonna need. And then of course, still need tons over here, but we'll get there. Day one is done. I got this whole back part except for down there by the tree. And then the hill, you all saw how many piles there were. And we were able to work all that down to look like that. It's pretty amazing. And when you think about how many piles of sand and how much of that pile of 7 yards of sand up front we put back here to come up with this much, it's pretty impressive. This is exactly why you need to scalp the lawn before you try and put down sand, because if you don't, you're never gonna know how much sand you're actually putting down. You can see there's a few little low spots there. There's actually a couple spots that I'm gonna need more sand, like right here is one, right here is another one, and then the last place is just a little spot right in here. But other than that, it looks pretty cool. So I'll come back out here tomorrow. I think I'm done for the day. It's been a long day. All I have now is at the top of the hill up there and then down the side and then these few spots that I mentioned. And then I think we are good to go for the backyard. I don't know if I've got enough sand for the front and the rest of this back, but if I've got to buy more, well, then I'll just buy more. But for now, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Need to take a shower. I've sweat through this shirt more than I care to admit today. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. So as you can see behind me, that's all that's left of the sand. And last night after I was talking to my wife, we looked at what's left in the back and we decided that we probably need 3 more yards. So I'm having 3 more yards of sand delivered to make sure that I can cover the whole front and the back. So that's gonna be a total of 10 yards. Thankfully for my buddy Brian yesterday for coming out. There's no way I could have done all that got done yesterday without his help. I still got to go up and down that hill a few more times, but for the most part, all the heavy lifting is done. So I'm just gonna get to it now and keep moving. For the masonry sand. Well, what do you see right there? I see rocks. Not little ones either. Very frustrating. I'm start spreading some of this because I think it may be too thick. And then, but honestly, you don't know until you start moving it around. I really don't mind the gentleness of it, but you're right. I mean, part of it too is I think like having these ridges is like a starting point for me to get my actual leveler out. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but going right up through there is a pretty big low spot, and you can see where it's brown where I scalped it because the side of the blade caught it. I'm gonna try and lift that up a little bit. I don't want it level because that's the drainage, but I do need it to be a little bit more level just to make the mowing a little bit smoother and give me some options when especially with the real mower. So I'm basically fighting a losing battle here. The sand is just too wet at this point in the day. So what I decided to do is just go ahead and spread it all out, let it dry out, and then either tomorrow it's supposed to rain. If it does, then I guess it'll just wait. But maybe the rain will help level it out. And then we'll wait until it does dry. It'll make it a lot easier to work it into the canopy. My daughter Sam and her boyfriend, who is also named Sam. So they're doing a great job. They're helping out the old man because I'm running out of gas after 2 full days of this stuff. It's a lot. See how much better that works?
Yeah.
And you don't need to really worry too much here. I'm just trying to get all of this stuff, knocking it down into the canopy. So what I'm gonna try and do is just kind of shape it. I don't mind that there's a dip. It just, right now there's a dip and a bump. So when I mow, I can see how it's brown like right there.
Yeah.
Where it's brown right there, that's what I'm trying to avoid. I guess. If it doesn't rain tomorrow morning, I guess I'll take care of it tomorrow then. But for now, I'm done. Had a really big rainstorm this morning. You can still hear the thunder. Want to see what happened with the sand. Dang it, it's raining. But that actually helped me out quite a bit because it moved the sand down, exposed a bunch of the rocks that were in there. That swale's in good shape with quite a bit of water from his downspout right there, but it did level it out and even it. But overall, I like what it did. But once it all dries out, I can move it around a little bit, maybe put a little bit more. I was smart and I put my truck over the sand to kind of keep it from moving. Still wet, but it should be all right. So this gives me a better look at where the low spots are. I can see that right there is really low, but I think we're on the right track. This rain actually is a blessing in disguise, even though I was hoping it wouldn't do it until I could actually get the sand in. But this actually helps pound that in, and it's going to be a lot easier to deal with. This is super frustrating because I just came out after the rain and it's starting to dry out. And look at how many rocks are in this. This is just, I ordered the masonry sand so that it would be sifted. And of course, like there's a million rocks in here. It's so stupid. It's been a week and this project was one for the books. I cannot believe how much work it was. I do think it's going to be worth every bit of effort that went into getting this thing done. So it's been about a week. Today is Thursday night. We started Friday morning of last week, and I wanted to take you all through the progress that we have so far. And then I also want to talk a little bit about a few minor lessons learned, and obviously I want to thank a bunch of people. So let's take a look here in the front real quick. So let's start with the very front. Believe it or not, it looks amazing, doesn't it? I mean, there is very, very little sand showing. There's again, this has only been about 6 days. The one area that is no surprise is right there. That's where my tires have been going on, and that's also the seam of when they put the sod in. Same thing over here. That's where my pop-up is, so it runs out quite a bit. So I made sure I beefed that up. And then the last bit is right here. And the reason why you see so much sand here is because obviously there's a pretty big angle there of where it goes down, and then that is actually a pretty deep spot. So I want to make sure I built that up quite a bit to make sure that the reel mower won't have any issues when we go there. I don't know that we can do this slope very easily in the reel, but I want to give myself every opportunity to be able to do that. So when we get back here, you can see there is very little sand. This actually looks really amazing. I think the nitrogen had a lot to do with this. The grass is pushing through really nicely. I have not mowed this, nor am I going to do it for the next few days. But as you come up here on the hill, you can see how green and lush it is. It looks really amazing. The putting green, or the future putting green, is looking really sweet. Lots of sand right in there, which I'm not surprised about. The one area that was surprising was right here. And you see there's quite a bit of sand. I had to actually reinforce it with another shot. What I figured out was that that's where my sprinkler lines run, and apparently it had just kind of sunk in a little bit. Down there was a low spot, and then right there is just the last little bit of grass that was growing, and it's actually pushing through really nicely. Up here at the top of the hill looks great. My pop-up drain that runs right through there was a low spot. No surprise there. I knew that that was going to happen. So we've got some good sand to level that off, and then the rest of it is just as expected. Now the one area I'm not going to be able to do much of anything about, you can actually see the different color of sand, and that's because it's wet. And the reason why is because I've got a drainage line that runs right up to my air conditioner, and that's a condensation drain, so that's a constant wetness there. What's going to happen is I'll have to address that in the fall when the air conditioner is not running as much and it dries out, and I can actually do something about it. But I'm not in a hurry. It's not that big of a deal, and it is an area of drainage that comes up from the side of the house over here. And then the last area I'm going to talk about is right here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of sand, and the reason why was actually showed in the video earlier how there was a pretty big swale right here, and so I had to fill that in. The grass is already starting to pop through, so I am not at all worried about it. This will probably be the last area that actually gets cleared up over the next couple weeks, I would say, at a minimum. All right, folks, well, that's pretty much it. That's it for me on this project. It was an experience. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I've done some leveling in the front. I did that last year, but nothing like this. This has been quite a bit of work between the scalping and the aeration and the mowing a couple times and then throwing down all that sand. I started off with 7 yards of sand and quickly realized that it was going to be a lot more than that. We ended up with 10 yards of sand. The general math is about a yard per 1,000. I have 6,500 square feet. I figured 7 was enough, and it wasn't. But that just tells you how unlevel my lawn was. So I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. Couple lessons learned: make sure that you get the masonry sand, which I did. But the other piece that's really important is make sure that the landscape supplier that you get that sand from understands that there cannot be any rocks in it. There were quite a bit of rocks in there, and my wife and I, we've been picking stuff out. We'll be raking that stuff out before I ever put my reel mower on there, because the reel will get destroyed with all those rocks out there. The other thing is, get lots and lots of help, as much as you possibly can, more than you think you need. If it wasn't for my buddy Brian on that first day, I don't know what I would have done. He helped me on this whole hill, and that was just a beast anyway. But without his help, there's no way out. This would have taken me way, way longer. I also had my daughter, Sam, and her boyfriend, Sam. Both of them were tremendous help. And of course, my wife is always an amazing help. if it wasn't for her, I mean, I don't know that I could get any of these projects done. So, you know, solicit as many friends as you can to help with these projects. You know, bribe them with beer and pizza and anything else you got to do, but the more the merrier. But that's it for me. I mean, this has been a really rewarding project. I think it's going to pay off a lot of dividends. Like I said, I'm not going to mow the lawn for at least a couple more days. I am going to raise the height a couple of notches just so that I can maintain it, but also because I can't put my reel on there, so I'm going to use my rotary mower, and that's got some suction, so I'm not going to bag. I definitely do not want to remove any sand, especially all the sand that's pretty loose, especially when the sand is dry. The last thing you want to do is start messing around with moving sand around. So I will be mowing over the next, I'd say probably Saturday night or Sunday, like I said, real high, and then I'll start working it down over the next week or so, and hopefully get the reel on there within the next couple weeks, at least in sections of the lawn. That's pretty much all I've got. I hope you enjoy the process. I know this was a long video. I appreciate it if you stayed this long to watch the whole thing. Like I said, it was a lot of work. I tried to condense it. I thought about doing a couple of videos, and I figured let's just throw it all in there at once and let everybody just see it all in one shot. But if you like the video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate all the support that I'm getting on this channel. I do this mostly just because I just really enjoy it. And for those of you that subscribe and hang out with me, I really appreciate it. And if you really like the videos and you want to be notified when new stuff comes out, don't forget to hit that bell. And with that, I'll see you on the next video. Have a good week, everybody. See ya.